Hello, this is Ken Ferry with this week's Boots in the Field report. Harvest continues to trickle along this past week. Everyone looking for dry grain or dry fields to nose into. Yield reports in the corn continue to have a wide swing. Fields in that tough area are in that 120, 170 range, with reports of swings from 90 to 240 bushel in the same field. Areas with too much or too little water really jumping out. Other areas continue to hold in that 2 to 240 range. Beans continue to hang in that low to mid 60s. I think this is a good sign, even though we don't have a lot of them out. I expect bean harvest will really crank up this week. With the amount of variability in this crop, everyone needs to stay on top of harvest loss. The first place, of course, to manage harvest loss in corn is staying on top of stock quality and setting up a timely harvest before we get in trouble. This, of course, involves the pest team staying abreast of deteriorating conditions and helping guard the harvest crews. Once the fields start to fall, then it's up to the harvest crew to capture as much as possible. This involves a mix of harvest speeds, harvest directions, as well as add-ons like reels for the head or cones for the end rows. Many growers don't own down corn attachments, or if they do own the reels or cones, they only put them on when things really get bad. I know going back and putting them on takes time, but if the pest team is coming up with more A fields, those that need to be harvested first, than you can handle, it'd be better to put them on before we start. So it's easier to have the equipment on the head and not use it than it is to stop harvest and go back and try to put that attachment on. Unfortunately, what happens a lot of times is a grower just tends to slug through the downfield of corn while leaving a lot of corn on the ground, and he's got equipment to prevent that back at the shed. Once we've dealt with the down corn issues, we have the standard combine loss issues we should pay attention to. Losses at the head due to shattering or stripper plate issues, and the threshing losses through the machine. Let's take time to check these losses in every field and in some case every variety. Usually early on, most of the losses are happening at the threshing part. And as grain gets drier, then we start to pick up more losses at the head. This may not be true for some of you with the great amounts of variability in your fields from the drought or the replanted areas. Trying to set stripper plates to do a good job all the way across the field may be a challenge. One needs to check harvest losses in the good areas as well as the bad areas. Having adjustable stripper plates may be a godsend in some of these fields, but it will keep the operator on his toes. Without adjustable deck plates, operators will have to work with harvest speeds and header speeds to reduce the losses at the head in these areas. Once we get the grain in the machine, we need to concentrate on the thrashing losses. Again, setting the combine with a nice even flow of uniform grain is a lot easier than the amount of variability some of you guys are dealing with grain flows from 90 bushel the acre to over 200 bushel the acre in the same pass, as well as wide swings in test weight and grain moisture. This is not going to be an easy task. Assuming most operators know the process for checking yield loss, stopping the combine and backing up to find the header loss, subtracting the header loss from the total loss to get your threshing loss. Don't forget, though, to check losses in front of the combine to see what's actually on the ground before you got there. Making sure your grain loss sensors are in working order, and then pay attention to them. Check the threshing losses in the tough parts of the field and the good parts of the field. You will find that you'll have less issues if you can keep the threshing compartment loaded, meaning increasing speed in the lower yielding areas to maintain that flow. When you do this, though, recheck your header losses to see if they have gone up in that same area. Our goal is to try for less than 2 bushel harvest loss total for corn, which 2 kernels per square foot equals a bushel. With soybeans, usually more than 75% of the loss happens at the head. This will be a combination of header speed, header height, machine speed, and real height. In soybeans, 4 beans in a square foot equals 1 bushel loss. Our goal is to keep our harvest loss below 3%. Now, threshing losses are easier to manage if we can keep an even flow in the combine as well when it comes to beans. This will be a challenge in these short beans, keeping the cutter bar low and keeping the reel close, and working with machine speeds to keep the flow as smooth as possible. Operators will be looking for that combination that brings the most grain out of the field, not how fast can we get finished. Which means managers need to back off a little bit and let these operators do their thing. With more seasonal temperatures coming this week, it'll slow down the finish of our June corn. But most guys have a lot of beans that we can work on in that meantime. I expect we'll have a better handle on this bean crop after this week's harvest. To stay up to date, check out our website at croptechinc.com and subscribe to our podcast, Boots in the Field Report. Keep her safe, keep her moving.